On today's show, we're talking to the Phi couple. This couple worked together to pay off over six figures in debt and then become financially independent. We'll catch up on their story since they last joined us here on The Real Well Show and hear their best tips for saving money during the holiday season, a time when expenses can add up quickly. I'm Kathy Fettke, and welcome to The Real Well Show.
You're listening to The Real Well Show with Kathy Fettke, the real estate investor's resource.
On their first appearance, Ali and Josh shared how they overcame six figures of debt as social workers and then began their journey toward financial independence. Now, 2 years later, we're checking back in to see how their story has evolved and to learn how they stay financially responsible during one of the most expensive seasons of the year. Ali and Josh, welcome to The Real Well Show.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
So what has been going on in your life since you were last on the show? Some little things that have been going on in your life.
Oh goodness, yeah. No, our portfolio has grown and our family has grown. So in
Yes.
July of 2023, I'm not sure the last time we were on, we welcomed our daughter Zoe to the world.
It's definitely been a whirlwind since then. I feel like so much life has happened, and it's definitely been an adventure.
Yeah, but you're so much better set up than most people who have their first child, and that's why there was a lot of intention behind that. So for those who weren't on the first show, tell us a little bit about how you were set up to have a family before you had the baby.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. So one of my favorite quotes is kind of like dig the well before you're thirsty. So we weren't entirely sure when we would become parents, but we knew we wanted to. And so our journey kind of began back in 2018. We had a lot of debt, low income jobs, and we were really stressed out, but we wanted a shot both at a better life and then eventually when we were parents to be as present as possible. So between frugality and learning about real estate through house hacking, we kind of got started in our investing journey. We managed to pay off all of our debt in about, I think, 2.5 or 3 years. And then by doing so, it allowed us to kind of grow our portfolio that much more so that the profit from those properties could help cover most and then eventually almost all of our lifestyle. So when our daughter was born in 2023, by then we were both working very part-time in our jobs. And then we both jointly made the decision to leave behind our careers so we could just focus on real estate and then also our daughter.
Oh, so exciting. And really the dream. You've been helping other people understand finances. I mean, what would you say other people your age are doing with their money in their early years, in their early 20s?
I think it's tough. I think we live in a society where we're not super taught financial literacy. And I think just the way the world works, it just looks so different. Like higher education is promoted. So tons of people are going to college. Tons of people are taking on debt. So when you're starting your adult life with your quote unquote dream job, you want to buy a house, you want to get the new car because you deserve it, right? And you have a ton of debt in a hole already. So I think it is a challenge for young people today starting their lives because there's a lot of systems in place that can make it hard starting out financially.
Yeah, I mean, I just look back at when I was in my 20s, and it wasn't so easy to get into debt. College costs were lower, and you couldn't just click on a button. We didn't actually have buttons to click on. We didn't have the internet back then, let's see, I don't think so, actually. Wow, I'm old. But it's so easy now to see things you want, and one click, you have it, and it's delivered to you same day or next day. And it's not like in my time when you wanted a nice dress, you had to go to Macy's and look at try on things, and you had a little bit more time to think about it. It just seems like it takes an enormous amount of self-control to not spend money today.
Without a doubt, I think we live in an instant gratification society. And I think that even the way like the brains work, like the research, like you think of social media, I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's like you need to move fast to keep someone's attention and all of those different factors. And it's the same with the instant gratification of, I have a question, I look it up on my phone, I get an answer in 2 seconds. I want to buy something, well, I can press Apple Pay and get it right away. So I think there's huge advantage to the world that we live in, but it is presenting new challenges that previous generations haven't experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys managed to get yourselves out of debt. So how much debt, may I ask, were you in?
Yeah, so in total, between student loans, which is the bulk of it, and then we had personal loans and credit card loans, we were just under $110,000 of collective
Mm.
consumer debt. We're social workers by trade. Ali is a licensed clinical social worker, and I was a career counselor for workers with disabilities. So earning more, like scaling our income, unless we were working, I don't know, 70, 80 hours a week, just wasn't really viable. So we actually found the book Set for Life by Scott Trench, and that's actually where we got introduced to the concept of house
Mm.
hacking. Back then, I think we were paying about $1,200 per month in rent, so almost $18,000 per year of after tax income. And when we started doing the math of looking where all of our money was going, plus we had kind of capped income potential, we decided to start attacking our expenses as opposed to just trying to earn more. House hacking got us started in real estate. It lowered our cost of living for rent from 1,200 to about 400. And then that was in 2018. Then we did it again in 2020, which was kind of a scary time, but we bought another house hack then. And that got our rent down to zero. So between having a
Wow.
super low cost of living, I think at one point we were living on like $2,200 or $2,300 per month,
Mhm.
and we were working a ton. That gap between income and expenses is what we use to pay off the rest of our debt. And then I think February of 2022, we made our final payment.
And for those who don't know what house hacking is, what is it and how did you do it?
Yeah, so it kind of looks different, kind of sometimes depending on where you're in the country. Where we are in the Northeast, specifically upstate New York, we have a lot of traditional multifamily properties. So single family homes that were maybe converted into a duplex or a triplex or a 4 unit even, where using an owner occupant loan, right? So you reside in the property for at least a year. We often averaged close to two. You qualify for a low down payment loan. So our first property, we put 5% down. Our second property, we only had to put 3.5% down. We moved into the units. And then from the other units, we collected rent. And in the beginning, the rent only covered most of the mortgage, which was still a huge win for us. And then eventually, by doing it a second time, it covered all of our housing costs. Other parts of the country where they don't
Yeah.
maybe have conventional multifamilies, they have maybe like single family homes and they can rent out the additional bedrooms, or if there's like an accessory dwelling unit on the property, they can do that as well. But there's many forms of house hacking.
Yeah, it's exactly how Rich and I got into our first property. It was a large house, 5 bedroom. We only needed two of the bedrooms, so we rented out the rest, and we kind of built walls and did lock offs. Lock the doors, put a mini kitchen in, so that you're not actually sharing any rooms. You're just sharing. You're collecting rent basically, and it is a great way to make the numbers work in expensive markets as well. I mean, you guys have it great. Your property values are way, way, way less than California. But it's tough. It's always been tough to get in to housing in general, and definitely in California. So that worked for us too. Okay, so now you've expanded your family, you have a child, you have more expenses. What has changed in your financial habits now?
I would say well, habits wise, I think full disclosure, I think we've gotten a little bit more lax, especially when it comes to things that kind of help make life a little bit easier, especially with a toddler.
I would say that parenthood has like completely humbled us and redefined how we view everything, including like investing in FI. And I look back at some of the things that we said and the beliefs that we held like before becoming parents, and I'm like, oh, you were silly. And that's not a bash to people that aren't parents. I think it's just it changed so much. I think that we kind of put like FI and investing in all of these things that were really exciting, like kind of on a pedestal, and we looked at it from more of like a purist view. And I think we became parents and we are like, wow, this is really hard. I'm really sleep deprived. Like there's so many more complexities and challenges in my life. I am actually willing to pay more for the bigger SUV, even though we've driven a Corolla for 10 years, because it makes my life easier and I have the financial flexibility to do so. Oh, hey, I am willing to pay that contractor money to do that job that I would normally DIY because I don't have time to do it anymore. So I think we've gotten more moderate with how we spend our money, if it makes our life easier and it takes responsibilities off our plate.
It's so funny. Your first words of parenting will humble you. I live here in Malibu amongst some of the biggest stars in the world, and my daughter went to school with their kids. And let me tell you, the kids did not put their parents on a pedestal like the rest of the world. They were just parents.
Mhm.
So it is funny and wonderful how kids will bring us back to earth, and also all the lessons learned. But what you were teaching as the FI couple, and for those who don't know, that's financially independent. And I think you were teaching that people could be financially independent at a very young age, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what we always make sure that we emphasize is that, like, sometimes people want to go to like the math of financial independence. And for us, we always kind of say, like, begin with the end in mind. Cause like financial independence can mean something different for everyone. I was actually just talking to a woman. She was in Kansas and I think she may be 4 or 5 years away from retirement. And for her, financial independence, financial success isn't about, quitting her job next week and then, living in a van or anything like that. For her, it's like just having greater financial security as she's about to venture into retirement. And so she's bought 2 properties. Those properties are now almost completely paid off. And for her, that's kind of what financial freedom looks like.
I think like the piece of becoming parents, it's just given us a different perspective and like more flexibility in how we view FI and understanding that there's different levels. Like before having Zoe, it was
Mm,
like if our rentals are not paying 100% of our lifestyle 100% of the time, we are not successful.
yeah.
And then it was like, you know what, we could live in this house hack and be completely 100% FI from our rentals, or we could get a bigger house that would make our life better and easier, and then work to scale our portfolio so we get to that point again.
Yeah.
So it was just having the flexibility of like intentionally increasing our income. It would impact our FI number, but it's all about enjoying your life too, right? And you need to strike that balance.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yes. As you mentioned earlier, things have changed quite a bit from when you started. 2020, we saw prices go up so much. So it's different for people trying to do what you did. What advice do you have for people starting today?
My biggest thing is I wouldn't say like throw the fundamentals out the window as if they don't work, because while things are different today in 2025 relative to 2020, I'm sure things were very different in 2019 relative to 2012, 20 or
2008.
2008, and so on and so forth. So obviously, like, yeah, ideally, none of us experience a global pandemic in our lifetime ever again. But there's always going to be these things. But through it all, I think fundamentals still present themselves, right? So actually, I was just talking to a realtor the other day, and in our area, while no, it's not Malibu, California, the median price is 50% higher today for a home relative to just 5 years ago. So almost 10% per year, prices have gone up. We're in a pretty quiet real estate market. I think historical long term average is maybe 4% per year in terms of appreciation, 3%. So the fact that we basically doubled year over year, it's hard to imagine. So as far as what people can do, I would say, one, stick to the fundamentals and understand that no, it's not necessarily easy to get started in real estate, but there's still a host of strategies that still work, especially if people can use something like house hacking.
Anything you want to add, Ellie?
Well, I was thinking, yes. I would also add that I think that sticking to the fundamentals, but also knowing that maybe the type of strategy or where you invest that could evolve as well, and making sure that when you're getting into a deal, like double and triple checking your numbers and making sure that they make sense. So maybe a single family rental doesn't make sense in your market anymore, but if you did a multifamily rental or a rent by the room and you kind of evolved your strategy to make it make sense for the current climate, that could be more helpful to the investor. So it's always thinking outside of the box. I'll say one story and then I'll stop. I remember when we were just getting started, we wanted to buy a seller finance deal. All of our mentors said, never say no to seller finance. But the deal, we were negative every single month, even with rent improvements and different stuff. We would be in the red every month. And the investor who wanted to sell it to us said, sometimes you got to be in the negative on a deal just to like get in. And I think that was bad advice. I think that for me personally, I think that a successful strategy, you're going to be able to find something that fits your lifestyle, but also is helping improve your financial situation. So just figuring out what that is in a in accordance with the current times.
All right. So have you been investing or are you focusing on your child at this time?
Oh gosh,
A little
no.
bit of both.
Yeah. So we the last time we connected 2023. So at that point, so we had bought two house hacks conventionally, through bank financing. Um and right around that time too, we started having conversations, one, about starting a family. And then two, we didn't want to have to move into every property that we were buying, but we still couldn't come up with 25% down
Mm-hmm.
payments. So that was kind of the rub. And so I said, is there a way by which you can buy real estate without moving into it and you don't have to come up with 25% down? So that's kind of when we really started venturing more into the world of creative finance.
So pre-Zoe, like we did a BRRRR using hard money. Then we did a seller finance deal while I was pregnant. I think we had talked to you at that point. We did a 4-unit seller finance deal, which was really awesome. But then once we became parents, it was like, whoa, like we need to adjust our approach. Is more doors the solution? What do we want to do? And it was kind of like that, reevaluate things. So after Zoe, we ended up doing another seller finance deal where we took on 5 doors. We ended up selling a duplex that was a challenge within our portfolio, and it had appreciated so much that we weighed like the potential for cash flow over the next 10 years versus the profit we could get and then reinvest it. We ended up selling it and we ended up reinvesting that money into multiple private money lending deals where we were the lenders, which was very cool because traditionally we've been borrowers. We borrowed private money to buy real estate, and now we were in a position where we could lend it back out and make a return on that. So we still have done some really cool creative stuff since having her.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, I love it. And how do you find seller finance deals?
So the biggest thing, there's like the tech way, if you will. So resources like PropWire, PropStream. There's a host of resources where you can go online, and you can do basically like what you would do on Zillow, except you're looking at off-market, unlisted properties. You can see properties that have very, very high equity or are even paid off. Typically, you can see who owns the property, whether it's an LLC or an individual. And then you can do things like direct mail marketing or cold calling to contact the owners, inquire if they would be interested in ever parting ways with their property. And if so, explaining to them the benefits of seller financing. So that's one way to go about doing it, which is totally fine, especially in like a bigger market. We're in a smaller market, and we're very much kind of like, we're big on networking and building strong relationships in our community. So for us, between just letting everyone know who we know that we're in real estate and what we're looking for. So I was in the nonprofit realm for a long time. There was a nonprofit CEO who I became friends with, and I let them know we were in real estate. They had friends who were getting ready to retire, had a portfolio of properties that they thought their kids were going to want to inherit. The kids wanted nothing to do with those properties. So they were kind of in a bind, and they didn't want to get hit with a big tax bill. So we got introduced to them, and we spent about 2 years just getting to know them, showing them the work that we were doing, showing them that we were, good potential people to partner with. And then eventually we structured that first deal.
Very inspiring as well. Okay, so you have talked about being frugal, and now you're also talking about enjoying your life at the same time and being frugal when necessary, but also spending when necessary on things that are going to make life easier or more enjoyable. We're going into the holidays, and this tends to be a time where people just like hands up in the air, let's go, we're going to spend some money. There's a lot of pressure to make sure that you're gift giving and so forth, and expectations, having guests, serving food. How do you handle the holidays? And do you stay on a budget? Do you how do you go about it?
I think we go about this the same way we go about like our daily life. And that is definitely like honest conversations and money transparency. So for gift giving, we're very up forward if we're going to purchase a gift for someone or how much we plan to spend, like a budget, just so that they can be informed when making a gift purchase for us. And with like our child, we have a little more flexibility with our budget. But again, like it has to make sense because holidays are so expensive. end of the day, it's one day. And I'm personally under the belief that like happy memories and love can be made without a certain dollar amount attached to it. So if you are in a position where you're having challenges with money or the budget is small, what are creative ways that you can still have that really awesome experience?
Something that we talk about a lot, and I imagine a lot of folks, if they're like us, they're getting bludgeoned right now in the mail with every credit card offer that comes to mind. So we do all of our gift purchasing via debit card, and I know it's not like the sexiest option, and there's no travel rewards being accrued or anything like that. But it also is like a forcing function, meaning like, hey, this is how much we have in our checking account. We don't want to, jeopardize our emergency fund. And so this is how much we have access to. Whereas the temptation, I think, for many, especially when they get that credit card thing in the mail, it's 0% interest. And they're thinking, oh, great, that could be for holidays. I can't tell you the number of people, Kathy, who I've spoken to who have gone five, six, sometimes $7,000 into debt for gift giving. And then the rest of the following year, they're now in a race to try to pay off that $5, $6, or $7,000 before that 24% interest kicks in. So it's like they get the moment, they have a nice day or so, and then they spend 6 months to 12 months trying to pay it off. So that's just one thing that we do.
Yeah, I found being on a budget and knowing what you can spend. And when Rich and I first got married, it was very little. We had almost nothing. And like you said, I would just do things. I got known for making pie. That was my gift. And I was so good at pie. Everyone wanted it. And it brought a lot of joy. And our vacations were camping at free campsites. And the kids still tell us it was their best vacations.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yep, there's always ways to still live a full life, a life of real wealth on a budget. And it doesn't take money to love. All
True.
right. Well, Ali and Josh, thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here on the Real Wealth Show and sharing your wisdom.
No, this has been awesome. Thank you so much again.
And thank you for joining me here on the Real Wealth Show. If you want to learn more about how you can grow your wealth during this expensive holiday season, just visit realwealth.com/90 days. That's realwealth.com/90, as in the number 90 days. When you're there, you can download a free guide about how to get your first rental property in just 90 days. I'm Kathy Fettke. Thanks again for joining me here on the Real Wealth Show, and we will see you in the next episode.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, go to realwealthshow.com.